What is up, crew? It is your girl by Felicia, and today I'm here to bring you all a recipe for a shepherd's pie. We're going to go ahead and jump into the ingredients in just a second, but before doing so, make sure you all like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on your post notifications so that way you never miss a video. Alright, we're going to jump right into these ingredients, and they will be listed in the description below as well. So just take the time to maybe screenshot them, write them down, so that way you will have the ingredients to make this recipe as well. But without further ado, we're going to jump into what we'll need for the meat. So let's start with the meat itself. 2 pounds of ground beef is what we're using. 1 onion. We're using 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. 1 teaspoon of salt, black pepper, and paprika. 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, 4 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 teaspoons of Tbs sauce, and 3 tablespoons of flour mixed into 2 cups of water. We're going to also use 1.5 cups of frozen peas and carrots. Now for the mashed potatoes, we're going to use about 7 russet potatoes, and those are going to be peeled and chopped into small square pieces. You're going to use about 4 tablespoons of butter, 1/2 cup of milk, 4 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, 2 ounces of cream cheese, 1 teaspoon of salt, pepper, and sugar, and you're going to use 1 egg. And the ingredients that you're using, as far as the milk, the butter, and the cream cheese, those should all be room temperature before putting them into the mashed potatoes, so that way it doesn't affect the temperature of the potatoes once they're done. All right, and after you've got everything together, you're going to just garnish it with 1/2 teaspoon of paprika and parsley flakes. But we're going to jump right into this thing. First thing first, we're going to go ahead and turn our heat on high, and we're going to add our ground beef to the skillet and pretty much cook it until it turns brown before we begin to add the other seasonings in here. So as you can see, it goes from this, and in the next clip it'll go to this. So once the ground beef looks like this, you're going to go ahead and get your onions in there, and then you're also going to add your minced garlic. And again, this is 1 chopped onion and 1 teaspoon of minced garlic that you're going to add in, and you're just going to go ahead and get that stirred up. You just get everything mixed well and incorporated, and then you're going to get ready to add your other seasonings, which you'll see me do here in just a moment. I just wanted to make sure I had all of the onions broken down and I had all of that minced garlic mixed in really well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and now begin to add the seasonings in. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and add the Tbs sauce in. And then I'm going to also go ahead and get ready to add that ketchup in as well. Once you have all of these ingredients into your ground beef, you're going to make sure you mix it really, really well. Get everything incorporated. Make sure it's mixed around very well. You don't want any bland pieces in your ground beef because obviously we did not season it prior to this portion. So we want to make sure that everything is mixed in really, really well. All of the seasonings are mixed around, all of the ketchup, all of the Tbs sauce. We want to make sure that gets mixed in really good. Now at this point that your ground beef is brown, your onions are in, your minced garlic's in, all of your seasonings, your ketchup, your Tbs sauce, the last thing that you need to do for your ground beef is get that slurry in that we created, where we put the 3 tablespoons of flour and we mixed it into the 2 cups of water. You're going to pretty much get that in, and you're going to also stir that really, really well. And you're just going to lower your heat at this point to about a medium low, depending on the stove type that you have. If your stove cooks still pretty high on a medium, I would say put it on a medium low and just let it go for about 15 minutes. At that point, after the 15 minutes, you'll go ahead and put it in a baking dish, because with the 15 minutes it's going to turn into like a gravy consistency. Go ahead and put it in your baking dish once it becomes a gravy consistency, and then go ahead and add your frozen peas and carrots and just Stir that in well as well. And you're going to just sit this to the side as you get ready to make your mashed potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stirred in, and then I'll be back for the mashed potatoes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get into the potatoes. So to a pot of cold water, I went ahead and added my potatoes, and I put them on a high heat and let them cook for about 20 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes is a reasonable time to make your potatoes for your mashed potatoes. Just depending on how big or small you cut your potatoes up. But to know that they're done, regardless of the time that you're putting them on, 15 or 20 minutes, make sure you use the fork method to stick it through. Make sure it breaks in half. Make sure it's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and strain the potatoes now that I know that they're good to go, and then I'll be back. Now that my potatoes have been strained, I just added them back to that same heat for a couple of seconds just to remove any additional water off. And then I'm going to go ahead and begin mashing them at that point. I'm just using a potato masher. I don't know if there's any other tool out there to use when you're making mashed potatoes. Well, homemade mashed potatoes. But if there is, use whatever works for you. But a potato masher works the best for me. And once I have the potatoes all mashed up, I'm just going to add my other ingredients, which is going to be that cream cheese, the butter, the milk. And once I get those added in, I'll pretty much mix it up before I add all of the other ingredients, such as the grated Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, and sugar. So first, I'm going to go ahead and get my cream cheese in. I'm going to go ahead and get my butter in. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour my milk in. So imagine pouring all of the, or taking all of this out of the fridge and then mixing it into this hot pot of mashed potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and get my seasonings added in there. So my salt, my pepper, and sugar. I'm adding my grated Parmesan cheese. And then I'm also going to add my 1 egg. So once you have all of those things added, you're just going to make sure you stir it up really, really well. And at this point, maybe I should have told you all this earlier, but this is being baked at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. So at this point, your oven should be getting preheated, if not a little bit earlier than this, because it does take a little bit longer to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. So just keep that in mind. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. And once you're done mixing your potatoes up, just go ahead and transfer them over to that same baking dish right above your meat and your peas and carrots, and just smooth the potatoes out. It took me quite some time to do it. Not gonna lie, I definitely was using a spoon at first. Make sure you use a fork. It makes life so much easier. But just smooth them out until they become pretty much how you want them to. No harm, no foul. Just, this is what you're making for yourself, for your family, and you want it to work for you. But once you have everything how you want it, go ahead and garnish it with your parsley flakes and your paprika. Goodness, that word did not want to come out right. But go ahead and get that garnish with those 2 seasonings, and you're using no more than a half a teaspoon for both. And this is what it's going to look like once you garnish it. And just go ahead and pop this bad boy in the oven for 30 minutes at that 400 degrees, and I'll check back in once it's done. All right, guys, 30 minutes later, we have our shepherd's pie, and 3 months later, here I am posting another YouTube video. Thank you all for your continued support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.